Hello and welcome to Jan Healing. I am Jan. I am so excited for this video because who talks about this? Honestly, no one talks about this. You get to talk about it. We get to talk about it. We're here. It's great. Okay. We're going to talk about, what are we even saying? We're going to talk about some key astrological placements that can tell you how to address your sleep issues. Okay? No one talks about this. Why are we not sleeping? Let me look at my astrology chart, all right? Yeah, that's totally the thing. All right, so the first astrological chart that we're going to look at, the very first, I'm sorry, not the chart, the first placement we're going to look at inside of a chart. If somebody comes to me and they're like, Jan, I'm not sleeping, and I go, well, give me your birth details, and they go, okay, that's not too woo-woo for me because some people come into my program and they're like, okay, that's too woo-woo. I'm not doing that. Fine. But if you're into this, totally can find it out. And so we'll help you a lot faster. But yeah, so there's three different placements that I'm looking at. Number one is what's in Pisces. Okay. And if it's not in Pisces, what is it kind of talking to? So is there anything that is near Pisces or making an aspect to Pisces? That's the first thing I'm looking at. I'm looking at what's in Pisces, okay? So for example, let's say you have Mars in Pisces, okay? Mars in Pisces is like kind of weird because actually the core issue of Mars in Pisces is like understanding our mortality from a very like visceral standpoint, that like the veil is thin, I can see my unconscious mind, and also the fear that I'm going to die because of my subconscious and unconscious mind, right? But let's say you have Mars in Pisces, right? That can also mean that when you try to sleep, there's a lot of like anger, rage, fear of falling asleep, fear that if I fall asleep, I'm going to die, fear that that there is a threat to my personal being, to my body, that if I fall asleep, right? And so we can kind of have a conversation with Mars in Pisces and say, hey, let's talk about this. What are some things that you're not addressing about your personal self, right? Are you drinking enough water? Are you not taking care of your body very well, right? And so once we find out what Mars is saying in Pisces, for example, then we can find out, okay, this is what's really going on. And it's not just Mars, right? Like you could have Venus in Pisces, and then we'd have a different conversation about why you're not sleeping. And you could have Chiron in Pisces. If you have Chiron in Pisces, that's going to be like, oh my gosh, it's such a painful wound that I have to overcome in order to sleep, and then I will help others sleep, right? For me, in Pisces, I have Jupiter, right? I have Jupiter in Pisces, and it makes like this grand trine, and it's like so many things. Anyways, so I have Jupiter in Pisces, and my coming to terms with things is like I was not living my true self when I had trouble sleeping, and I had a really hard time coming to terms with the fact that I wasn't being who I was supposed to be. I was being who I thought everyone else wanted me to be, and I thought that, I'm easygoing enough. Those can be the same thing. Why not? Why not? Why can't I just be what everyone else wants me to be and not be my true self? And as I stepped into my true self, I started to sleep just fine. And even more so, because it's Pisces, and Pisces is all about the woo-woo stuff, right? And Jupiter is like expanding, like massively. My true self was being able to do kind of these kinds of things. Like I stepped into crystals and cards and intuitive readings and all the stuff that people can, and astrology, obviously, all the stuff that people consider woo-woo, right? So as I expanded my understanding and my knowledge in these esoteric kinds of things, I started to sleep, right? That's why we're looking at what's in Pisces. That's what we're looking at. So if you don't know what's in Pisces, then in your chart, then you can just put your birth details into, go to elixology.com and put your birth details there, and you can find out what you have in Pisces. Pisces looks like kind of like this. It looks like two fish. It's supposed, the symbol is two fish, but it looks like two backward C's with a little line in between. And you just go to elixology.com and you put your birth details in there, and it'll give you your chart, and you just look at what's in Pisces. And if you don't know how to interpret that, I am more than happy to help you with it. And if you're having trouble sleeping, then I'm more than happy to help you with that too. Anyways, on to the next thing. What else should we be looking at when we're not sleeping? Well, the very first thing that comes to mind is if it's a question of physical health, right? There is a physical reason you're not sleeping. Maybe you have high inflammation. Maybe you have whatever in the body, not in the emotions, not in the mind, not in the spirit, but the physical body is struggling, and you're not stressed about like money, for example. If the physical body is having trouble resting, we're looking at the first house. So anything in the first house is going to give us some clues as to what you need to do to kind of get into the right place so that your body is able to rest. Okay? Because there's so much at play when we are talking about sleep and going to sleep. It's all about what is in the best interest of it's all about like which part of the layer am I dealing with, right? So like Pisces rules like sleep and the dream world and the subconscious mind. The first house is about how your physical body is doing and what you're doing with that. So for example, let's say you have the moon in the first house, and so then in that case, your emotions might feel very visceral. And if you're out of alignment with what so if you're trying to stuff your emotions, then you're going to have physical problems. But that's very different than like Mars in the first house, where it's like literally like calorie count, guys, okay? Calories in, calories out, do a detox program, and you'll sleep just fine, right? But if your moon is in the first house, for example, you're going to see like, okay, I'm stuffing emotions and I have physical problems because I'm stuffing my emotions. Let's deal with the emotions, and then my physical body will be okay, and then I can sleep better. Okay? So we're going to look at the first house and what's in the first house. I'm also going to look at the 12th house because that's also Pisces flavored house, but it's like, what are you doing in your day-to-day life that is a reflection of your subconscious mind? What are you doing in your day-to-day life that is a reflection of your dream world? And that's why we look at the 12th house. Like, what are these actions that you take on a regular basis to truly reflect what your dream world is saying? How is your subconscious mind driving things? So we'll look at the 12th house more as an understanding of what actions you're taking when it comes to your subconscious mind. Let's see. The other thing that we're looking at is the 6th house. And this is surprising. This is something that not a lot of people are going to go, that's a sleep house. But when it comes to regular schedules, the 6th house is king, right? When it comes to being able to fall asleep on time, being able to wake up on time, the 6th house is where it's at, So if you have a loaded 6th house, you may be putting too much pressure on yourself to be perfect, to do the exact right thing at the exact right time every time, to be consistent every single day, to make sure that you're doing the responsible thing every time. It's a very tricky house to navigate when you have a lot of stuff in it. But regardless of where your placements are for anything, the goal is to learn the things you need to learn and come to terms, like really have a deep conversation with that part of you that the planet and house represents. Like, okay, when it comes to astrology, I'm just going to say this now, okay? When it comes to astrology, astrology does not dictate how your life is. What astrology does is it reflects what's within you when you were born. It reflects what you were meant, what you decided you wanted to have in your life when you were born. Okay? So when you have a loaded 6th house, that tells me you wanted to come to terms with the idea of schedules. You wanted to come to terms with the idea of creating something from nothing and doing the hard work that it takes to create something from nothing. Okay? That takes dedication. That takes responsibility. What happens a lot of times, and especially in the earlier times of our lives, is that when people have a loaded 6th house, they'll feel like all this pressure to do everything, right? And what we want to do is come to terms with what is it we're here to do. What else? What is it? What are those planets? What are those points in that 6th house? We can really understand what we're here for and what we want to accomplish, what we want to bring into the real world by looking at that 6th house, right? And so if we have clarity around that, then we can truly find a way to like just let go of everything else and not like be perfect all the time, everywhere, for everything. Not try to like be what everyone else wants us to be, you know? And we can truly serve in the ways we're meant to and not try so hard in the ways we're not meant to serve. And at the end of the day, the sleep killer for everyone is stress. It's the adrenal glands being pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. So those are the 3 placements that I look at when I'm looking at a chart when it comes to sleep. And what I want you to know is that it doesn't have to stress you out, okay? If you're into this kind of thing and you're curious and you're like, ooh, I really got some nuggets out of that, awesome. If not, and this was like so scary and overwhelming for you, it doesn't matter anyways. What matters, most importantly, is that when you have this feeling of like grinding or like something coming up that's like, I don't know, I can't figure it out, I can't see both sides, I can see both sides, I don't understand, I don't know what this feeling is. That's the gold that we're looking for when we're even looking at a chart. That's the gold. We want to find that feeling, find the root reason for that feeling, and find out what that feeling needs in order to be integrated. Because really, that feeling, if it's serving you, and it may not be serving you, right? Like, so we might like just find a way to let it go. But if it's serving you, it becomes part of your power. It becomes a really important part of your beautiful, wonderful power, that who you are meant to be, who you decided to be before you were even born. And that's what it's here for. That's what you're here for. So, anyhow, if you're having trouble sleeping, please click the link below. Sign up for my free video on why you're not sleeping and just sleep better, right? Whatever that is. And honestly, like, just book a call, because to be completely honest with you, we'll just find out what your actual sleep pattern problem is, and we'll find the right path for you to resolve it. And then in the coaching program, we just resolve it. Hello. Anyhow, and if you like this video, I would love if you would just share it with somebody who it might touch their lives for. And Oh, subscribe. That would be cool too. Thank you. All right. Well, you have a great day, and I will see you next time.